So hi, welcome to the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with
Martin.
Casey.
And Augusto, and we are Ok Goodnight.
I asked some questions to say about the upcoming album, The Fox and the Birds. Congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Really, really good. It feels like a huge weight lifted off of all of us to finally talk about it and put out some music, because it's been a really long time, and everyone so far that we've seen seems really happy and as eager as we are to sort of share new music.
Oh yeah, the album rocks.
Oh, it's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Well, it is a concept album, so I guess the basic idea of the title of the album is the characters. We did really struggle figuring out what the title was going to be. Took us a while, but then it just kind of made sense just to have this be about these two main characters. And really, there's not a whole lot of symbolism on the characters, really. It was more of a, vibes consideration, like, a fox and a bird.
Yeah.
They sometimes in the wild interact, and there's this whole situation that they're put into, and we just started kind of adding animals and situations in there. And so, the cover art, really what we tried to do was reflect that and kind of make it look like the cover of a book. So if you see the cover art of the album, it's like kind of old papery kind of thing. And then if you see the two single arts, it's supposed to be like the pages in between. So it was, and then the booklet is supposed to look like a book, essentially. So
that's fucking awesome.
I guess it's not much of a meaning, but like just an overall kind of story that encompasses this whole musical journey.
Yeah. I think one other thing about the naming of the album and the songs, like the track list and everything, is the music itself throughout the album is pretty insane. There's like a lot to hear. So I think we really wanted, especially with how we ended up with the name of the album, we wanted the tracks and the concept and the idea behind it to be pretty easy to digest and pretty okay. You put as soon as you are hearing a song and you're like digesting it, you can just put, oh, this is the theme for the fox and the bird, or this is sort of this is what the bear is like, sort of encapsulated. So I think we were all very inspired by just the idea of like an old storybook, and how do we make that into not only an album, but an album that explores a lot of different genres. So.
Oh yeah, and I appreciate you guys paying attention to how easy the story is to digest, because I feel like we talk to people about these concept records, they explain the concept to us, and I'm still trying to figure out how I'm supposed to get that from the music, because it's just so complex.
Yeah.
And it's I appreciate the world building, but without visualizing it, I don't know if I'll ever understand it. So the simplicity of it I can appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It ended up being a lot simpler than we originally imagined, which is good.
Yeah.
We definitely tried to tack on too many things at the beginning, but it always happens.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
Yeah. It was a crazy writing process. We wrote, it took us 2 years to finish the writing of the whole thing. So there was a lot of thinking and a lot of paying attention to details. We wanted really to make sure that each song correctly represented and made the listener feel what we wanted each animal and each situation to be. So it took us a long time to kind of craft each song to the final place where we felt like it really represented the story in the best way. And we tried to connect the different themes and the different motifs. So it was a really long process, but it was really fun as well. Definitely tedious towards the end, just as we had been working on it for so long that you kind of become a little bit tired of your own story and of the idea of the concept and having to be paying attention to all the small details all the time. but I think it paid off, and we're all so happy with how everything turned out in the end.
Yeah. And I just want to add that this album was the most collaborative thing we've done. Like pretty much every single song was kind of made together. We like the first initial ideas went by everyone. Kind of everything was approved, you know, and improved upon, and it was very micromanaged by everyone with everyone, which I think was really good, because it really pushed us to kind of try different things and you know, just work differently. We hadn't really developed like a band sound, and I think this really helped.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And we definitely, with it being like a concept album, we definitely approached it in a different way than we had approached anything else with the writing, for sure. Like we started the whole thing, really. We had, I think, one actual demo of music that we then sort of decided was going to be put in the album, or was going to, it was kind of like the starting of the concept. But we actually focused for quite a few months first before really writing any music at all on what the concept was going to be and the story. So we like really wanted to try to write the story and then write the music to flesh out that story and represent that story. So that was very like, it was really cool, but also very strange. I remember the first couple of songs that we wrote, we were like, they came together really fast, and we were like all so pumped about every single one. And then as we got to certain parts that were certain animals, certain situations that were harder to represent or do in an original way, that's when it started to get really complicated and very like, you know, the idea of writing it, especially for me lyrically, like became a bit daunting, like in the middle. But yeah, it did come together, and I think the way that we micromanaged did make it like as good as it could be in our eyes. So
For sure. When you guys are writing concept records, do you prefer having the story written, or do you guys prefer just having kind of like a free-flowing kind of, we like these songs, we're going to put them, package them up as an album, so you're not kind of, I guess, putting yourself in a box, like we have to write songs that sound like this to fit this pre-written story that we've had?
Yeah, I think that's this is like the first actual concept album that we face doing while actually kind of being conscious of the story. The first album we released, Limbo, was a concept album, but it did came about in the sense that we had the songs first, and then we found a way to link them together and tie them up. And this one, we definitely worked on the story a lot in the beginning, and wrote it out, made sure we had all the details, and then went through with writing music. So we did go through both, and they were different experiences for sure. Like I feel like the first one was much easier and lighter on our heads than the second one.
Yeah.
But I do feel like this album the concept in this album is so much stronger and so much more present than in the other one, that you can kind of not tell it's a concept album if you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So which one do you prefer?
Yeah, I prefer this one.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Gotcha. So what song off this album took longest to write, and which one is each of your own personal favorite?
So which song took the longest to write?
Probably. I think so, right? I mean, it's kind of a tie between two songs. And I guess even if we're accounting for time in particular, then another third song could be thrown into the mix too, probably The Mountain, because that was sort of the final big epic fight song. Took a long time, just because we were really like kind of dragging our feet towards the end of the writing process of the whole thing. But I think that the one that probably took the longest was called The Crocodile. That one was just, it was so wacky, and we were bringing it in so many different directions, like sonically, and it kind of took a long time to figure out what to nail down. For me, how to write a melody over like a new, really proggy section that was also very funky, and like I couldn't, tell what key we were in every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So probably that one. It's that one. And then the other one is the snake. That one, it turned out to be a favorite, but it also took a long time to get that one right. So
I think we were pretty quick in terms of laying down the musical notes, like the actual notes, and the structure of most of these songs was pretty intact very early on. But it's the kind of finessing of the sounds that kind of justify what you're doing musically and lyrically, and how you make certain things that may be a little bit cheesy and like theatrical, how you make them not feel dated, like there's like a lot of fine tuning to get the tone right.
Yeah.
So I think the writing process was very quick of the like structure and notes, but like the really intricate details took a long time. So
Gotcha.
mostly for the croc, I think.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right. And favorites?
And favorites.
Yeah.
Oh,
Favorites.
favorite. Yeah. For me, the favorite is the bird. I would say so.
For me, I think it's the fox and the bird.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always between those two, and I'm gonna say the mountain just because it's one of the most like epic, intense songs we've ever written.
That's like my second.
So it's really fun to listen to.
Yeah.
All right. So how'd the Tracklist 3 album come about? Did you guys write the opener be the opener, closer be closer? Did you shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
It was the track listing, I guess. It was, I mean, we didn't write the whole album in order.
Mm-hmm.
We thought of like the key points, right, and started working on those. So we thought the bear was the first one that we kind of really worked on, and then right after that one we did the raccoon, which was going to be the one that introduced the whole mythical aspect of the story.
Yeah.
Kind of like a really drastic change in tone. And then we just started kind of figuring out what made sense. So then after that, the introduction made sense, right? So the drought, which puts you in this world that is this, and then we were like, okay, now we have to introduce the main characters. Okay, boom, now we have this. Oh, now we have the two main characters with the introduction of the situation kind of blended together, the raccoon, and then it was kind of like one thing after another, but really working on those key points first.
Yeah, I also feel like having written the story beforehand, we kind of knew what was gonna come when in terms of like the big moments, so it was easy to start focusing on that, and then the maybe tracks that are more of like a passing track or like connecting tracks, maybe we shuffled them around a little bit, but not that much. Honestly, it was pretty planned.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's good. So would you guys be able to tell us where Headspace is at while you're creating this record?
Well, it definitely shifted around a whole lot. I'd say because we started with the story, it was a very interesting thing to kind of start literally just trying to craft a story together without any music involved. And I think kind of like I mentioned earlier, once we then had the story and sort of synopsis fleshed out, actually getting to the meat of it and getting to write the music to represent certain moments, I think we were like really excited. And that kind of, it was almost like this huge burst of like creative energy that we all kind of had. Especially because, we were writing this during the pandemic. Like it was a really weird time. And I think that we really wanted to just make sure that we were still having this relationship with each other, and like creating something out of, a world situation that was really not ideal. And so, I think it started off really, really like it blossomed. And then I think once we got to certain tracks where I think what could have happened is we've all kind of felt like we can very easily slip into a generic sound, you know, like with the snake, it started as a joke that we would like, you know, go into this very sort of you know, it would sound very deserty and like, you know, Phrygian. Yeah. And we were just like, all right, how do we actually do that, but make it sound interesting? And so I think that, and then some of the other songs, it got really complicated trying to talk about how to make those tracks and everyone be equally happy and everything. So, you know, I think all of our headspaces were really, in a way, we all wanted the same thing. We all just wanted it to be as good as possible. But I think all of us individually had different ideas of how to get it there.
Yeah. Also, it was such a long writing process. You know, it was 2 years, and in 2 years, so much stuff like happened. So it was ever changing, to be honest.
Yeah,
makes sense. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
Oh boy. Well, my perspective is like the most ridiculous because, I mean, a lot of this is very, very lyric driven, you know, the story, because it's a concept album. It's like a storybook. The lyrics are very, very important. But at the same time, this is kind of insane, you know, insane music with a lot of different moods and a lot of change throughout the whole thing. So I think during the first time that someone listens to this, it really needs time to sink in. So, you know, I recommend listening to it with the lyrics in front of you so that you can really like read it as a story. But I don't think that that's fair for everyone to do. And it's not how I would digest an album. So for me, the way I would, if I were a listener, I would listen to it first. And then the second time around, I would like really dive into the lyrics. So.
Yeah, I would say definitely, or definitely not with friends. I would do it. I would not personally. I would not listen to an album the first time with someone. I'm one of those people that I go under the bed, everything off, headphones on. You know.
Yeah. I think you can listen to it with friends later after you've all listened to it.
I get like a book club, you know, you talk about it afterwards.
Exactly. You don't want someone like talking over like the beginning of a song that you're hearing for the first time. That's the most annoying shit ever. It's like, dude, come on, man.
And some music and some albums are easy listening like that. Unfortunately, this album is not like that. Some parts are easy listening, but as a whole, to digest, it's like you kind of want to be. I mean, we wanted to give people something to put all of their focus on and energy on, and like I'm very intrigued by and always have loved personally the way that an individual who loves music digests an album and creates a story in their head and the whole movie in their head. And so that, you know, that's the coolest thing for me about this album.
Absolutely.
Cool. No, it's definitely intense. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think they said most of it, but yeah, it's an intense experience. Everybody I showed it to my parents, and like they like heavy stuff, but they like more the melodic stuff. And when I played, it was like, oh, this is like very intense. So it's like, I'd say headphones, you know, paying attention to the music. It was designed for it to be consumed in that way, as because there's a lot of detail, there's a lot of intensity, details in the lyrics, so you don't want to miss any of that, you know.
Absolutely. For sure. So this one should be super, super quick. Off the top of your heads, I want you guys to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. 3 words each, 9 total, no more, no less.
Oh, man. You start, Marty.
Intense.
Okay.
That's difficult. Intense.
You're a third of the way there. 1/3 of the way.
Bittersweet. And,
bittersweet.
and I guess atypical.
There you go. See?
Nice.
That's good. That's good.
Nice.
You had time to think.
Do you want the hard? You can give me the hardest. The hardest.
Yeah,
if you want.
go for it.
No, you can go.
I'm good with words.
All right. Okay. Okay. Well, for me, I'd say magical, emotional, and yeah, that third word is hard. It's not a word that I want to be used in a musical context, but soulful is like another word used for it, but not the musical way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, and I'd say heavy, light as well, like the contrast between those two, and Brody for sure.
That's
All right.
Fuck yeah.
So can you talk about any particularly challenging or standout moments from the creation of the album, positive or negative?
I mean, there was the moments, I guess one of the most challenging moments, at least for me personally, was to get the bird right. Because the way we kind of drew it out was we tried to make it very free form, but still like make it in the box. And so like doing this whole arch of a song that represents a certain, like a pivotal moment in this story was very difficult, especially because it's like such an emotional moment. So it was very, very difficult to kind of get the tone right of the harmonies and the themes we brought back musically. But I think it didn't seem hard because it was something that was very interesting to us and that we were really passionate about, of course. So that one was very challenging, but it didn't seem as much because of how like inspired I was by it.
That
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. For me, writing, apart from the two songs that we kind of mentioned earlier that gave us some trouble, the snake and the crocodile, lyrically, the one that I was the most afraid of before writing it was the raccoon and the myth, because I had to try to write the story and the concept that we talked about for months in one song, like actually express it in a way that made sense to someone to hear and wasn't boring and read like a storybook or like a folk tale, like something you would read to your kids, or something that some ancient old man would say in Lord of the Rings or something, you know. So that was tricky. And I got worried that we were going to have a hard time making that song, because it is still long, like lyrically, there's still like a lot of verses to explain everything. But I think, I was worried that it was just going to come across as like, okay, it's just all the exposition. But I actually think that the way that it came together was really natural and really nice. And we ended up getting very meticulous about it, like we did with most tracks, and like making it, tried to make it a very pleasant soundscape so that you really felt immersed and that you were like hearing the story as well, like, in a circle of features and everything. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was definitely learning my drum parts for the album because, as we said before, we wrote everything in Martin's bedroom. So it was all programmed and everything inside the digital audio workstation. So that gave me a lot of freedom at the time of sequencing and creating the drums parts, because I didn't have to actually play them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to that point where it was like the recording dates were getting close and I had to shed that, I found that I had written a lot of crazy stuff that it caught me by surprise. But it was a challenge, but it was so fun to get that under my fingers. And now, having played it so many times, I feel like it was a great experience, and it made me so much of a better drummer. So that was really fun.
Yeah, it's a very drum heavy album, and I think it's like some of the most impressive stuff that Augusto has ever written. So yeah.
I love it. All right. So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. You're going in. What is your snack of choice?
Sweet tarts, bro.
Nice.
Yeah, sweet tart ropes is a
Fan favorite.
yeah, it's one of those like my I showed it to like my best friend first, and like Christian, and he hyped me up. I was like, oh, these are so good. And then I showed it to him, and he was like, oh my God, these are so good. And then like now we all kind of like those.
Yeah, it's perfect. It makes it easy.
Yeah. Do you have one in mind? Like
I'd say like peanut M&Ms. I like peanut
I
M&Ms.
love peanut M&Ms.
Yeah. I really like having both like if I'm getting snacks, like something sweet, like sweet tart ropes or M&Ms, and then something spicy or something very salty right with it. So for me, I'm a huge pickle fan. So I would probably find, if possible, like pickle flavored chips.
Oh,
The best. The Lay's, the best.
Lay's ones are so fire.
Oh yeah.
So true. Oh yeah. So for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
I would have Philadelphia sushi with a Coke.
Nice.
Classic.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm probably gonna go with like a nice piece of meat. Like some like barbecue, something nice.
Yeah.
And a good beer, like a nice pint of maybe Lagunitas IPA or something like that, something that's thick.
Yeah.
I would probably, for a drink, I would do something very nostalgic and comforting, which would be just a black tea with milk and sugar, and then like probably pasta, honestly, like something, something very like something nice and like garlicky and creamy, like some kind of fettuccine alfredo or something like that.
Hell yeah. I love it. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Fictional world, like
like comic, like a book, like a TV show, a movie.
Bikini Bottom for sure.
Oh,
hell yeah!
That would be
SpongeBob.
Great.
That's a great one.
Like, what if you could actually try Krabby Patties? Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
I know that shit's good.
Yeah, you'd be the only guy that was trying. I actually had a real Krabby
Exactly, like
Patty.
the Krabby Patty gummies. Awful. Shit's awful because it's not the real thing.
What?
Yeah.
I like those.
I like some.
Oh, you like them? I'm sorry. They're awesome. I fucking love those.
They're trash though. They're trash, but like, when you kind of like something because they're trashy. Like,
It's also like very nostalgic as well. Like growing up eating those. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a
Do you
good.
have a world one?
I don't know. Like, I was thinking, but I think Martin took it away with Bikini Bottom. Like, that's the best answer. Like, what can I say?
Yeah, I feel like for me, it has to either be like Wonderland, like from Alice in Wonderland, which would honestly probably be terrifying, but like just so cool. Or like Narnia. It's like Narnia. Just when I think about, it's another like nostalgia factor when I think about like the opening of it's just like
all the snow.
Yeah. And I love like monsters and dragons and like mythical creatures and stuff. That's also a very nostalgic thing for me. So like somewhere where that type of stuff exists, that would be my.
Yeah. Would you betray your best friends or siblings for some of the whatchamacallit, what's the powdery stuff?
The Turkish delight.
The Turkish delight. Bro, it was like a plate of it.
Yeah. And I've only ever heard that Turkish delight in real life is actually not good at all.
I had
it's ass.
Oh God. But the real question is, would I betray my family to spend some time with Tilda Swinton? that might be a yes.
That's a different answer.
Yeah. That one? Did you say one?
Bikini
Or
bottom.
I didn't say one, but I said bikini bottom. Like
Right?
the
It's
best
a
one.
tie. It's a tie.
Say.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
best.
But I can imagine like bad ones, you know. I'm thinking like I don't know.
Exactly.
Goth
City, yeah. I just want to be there. Like.
Yeah. So I have done investing. Last question. Every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
No, with like marine blue.
marine blue.
All right.
I'd say like dark-ish blue, navy-ish blue.
Okay.
It's pretty alright.
Mhm.
I wear
That's good.
it a lot.
Damn, I feel like such a piece of shit. I can't like name one color. It's always for me been like like combinations of colors together. If I say one, it just like doesn't make sense to me. But I will say a color that I do think is lovely, which is periwinkle. I love that color.
That's such a good color.
Oh yeah. So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you guys would like to plug?
Our new album. We would love to plug. It's out June 2nd. Not sure when the podcast or interview will be out, but The Fox and the Bird is going to be out June 2nd, and we are going on tour. So if anyone is interested or wants to come see us live, we are going to play a lot from this new album, and we're going to play some oldies too. So we're really excited to finally get to not only for everyone to see this world for themselves that we've kind of created in this past couple of years, but to like play it live with people and for people to experience that and for us to experience it. It's going to be really, really, really special. So
Yeah, we're also playing an album release show in Boston, in the Middle East, June 2nd as well. So
yes.
any Boston friends that want to come hang out and check it out live, that's going to be a fun one. You can pre-order tickets right now.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And the CD. If you want to see the awesome booklet we got in there, you gotta get yourself a CD because otherwise, you know.
What are you doing?
Yeah. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
What the fuck are you doing?
All right. Well, thank you for silence, guys. It's been Okay Goodnight, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.